And this is Ebony.
He's in the building, y'all. Ebony, you looking real earthly.
This is my couture. I got the flow. You have a blue-gray area shirt?
T-shirt as well.
Can you hear Jeff?
Folks, is a huge discussion through the Marion County Prosecutor's Office to so we have special guests here today. Prosecutor Terry Curry is back with us again.
Thank you for coming here. Appreciate it.
Yep. And he brought a nice friend, John Owens.
Yeah, football coach too.
Actually, I've coached softball. I coached high school softball for 12 years. That's correct.
Okay. So what we'd like to do is, a lot of people aren't familiar with what we do for the Marion County's Prosecutor's Office in regards to child support.
Well, let me talk about the child support program nationally first, just a little bit. Sure. What they called the Title 4D, or Child Support Enforcement Program. Okay. It was created as a way to recall the 80s that this is a program that had value and should be available to anyone.
Sure.
So the federal government requires states that has a plan. Okay. So every county prosecutor in the state to the prosecutor's criminal division, which deals.
Okay. Your role.
Right. And approach. I think John agreed that it becomes such an adversarial relationship that aiding the non-custodial parent, and when we took office in 2011, which is played out in a number of ways. John can talk about the number of things we've done. Suspending someone's driver's license, but John can talk about is that we have the custodial parent to get a job and start to pay on their child support. Sure. Then they need a driver's license. And so our primary approach has been work with us and get started on something, and we'll work with you. And John can explain a number of ways we do that. You know,
where we're from.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, it seemed to be will show that.
Sure.
So, you know, there's other implications beyond just the fundamental child support obligation that were things that carry out that philosophy.
Awesome. There's a real strong correlation between the amount of time a parent spends with a child and the relationship. Also true, when there's the lack of a father in a child's life, that child is more at risk for society frowns upon. So one of the things we want to do is just we're in charge of it. And, you know, there's a certain apprehension that young men have when they have to go to the prosecutor's office. Sure. Make some inroads, but we still have a long way to go. Sure. We want folks to feel comfortable coming to the prosecutor's office for child support services. And we've tried to take the...
wow. That's incredible. And I can just give y'all a hug right now. You know, I'll wait on that. But the reason I say that is because, and I'll be transparent here, me myself was put into the child support system, you know, over 18 years ago. And I could tell the difference when you took over. Because one, I seen the name change, you know, or the signature. So I knew something else was going on there. But for a long time, for some reason, there was a case opened up in 2 states. And the states physically paying and living in one state. And every year when the time came around to say, hey, you owe something for this year, I got that notification. And I'm like, well, how do I owe if I've been paying all year? And it was just that the states weren't talking to each other. So I was a frequent emailer and a letter sender and caller for several years trying to figure out what was going on. And it was very frustrating to try and figure out, you know, to even get someone to talk to, because, you know, there's tools in place that they had that would allow you to they would say, hey, call this number, or come down and sit and talk with this person. And it was just a long... I have to say that one year when you got there, I could tell when you told me that you changed how things work, all that went away. All of it was streamlined, and it was easier for me to talk with people. It was easier for me to come down there and get a hold of someone. And I just want to say, and you touched on a little bit, what happened in that, you know, how did you guys change that, and what are you guys doing to improve the relationship or other communication between states in regards to child support?
Before you answer, I'm sorry to interrupt, but a lot of viewers are saying there's a lot of static.
Oh.
And I want to make sure viewers hear the response and the
Oh,
microphones. We want to make sure that you can,
Yeah. I know what it is.
that you
You can keep talking.
benefit as much as possible from the show.
We have to change our batteries.
Give us just a second. We got. Do we have a Marion County Prosecutor's Office
How's that, folks?
plug in a commercial as we're good
I
now?
wish we had a commercial. Okay, so folks, tell us
That's
if
the status.
that's
Give it-
better. I can look at my mic controls and see that it's a lot.
Okay, say it is
Good?
better.
Okay.
Hit the
Okay.
like button if it's better, please.
It's better. It's better.
Hit the love button if it's better.
Love, but
Okay,
Love
without
button.
going through
Show us some love if it's
without
better.
going through the entire. Give me some batteries. That'd be better.
Because me and Pat would be lost if it wasn't for Ray. So
Without going through the entire story again, I had a discussion with you about that and how there were some things broken. I even was arrested, because of the confusion that was going on at the time. So, tell us what happened and what did you do to streamline.
There's almost nothing we can do to make communication better between the states, but for to have a computer system,
Awesome.
require every state to communicate.
Sure.
So I'll be the last person to tell you it's great, because it's not,
Okay.
but it is better.
Good.
On a local, people is people,
Sure.
and we support for families that need it, an upset.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, the end result isn't as good as it is when we just sit down and talk and try to work together.
Okay.
So that every one of our, but the reality is we're under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. We deal with folks who are very upset.
Sure.
And we deal on the phone every day with a mom or a dad who's trying to get enough money to get through the week, where a child support payment makes the difference between whether we're going to eat macaroni out of a box or we might have a can of tuna. I mean, those are the kind of life choices that folks are making. But what we want to do is we want to be accessible, we want to be available, we want to be approachable, which is why we continue to try to increase our presence out in the community in a more friendly fashion.
Sure.
Things out.
Good.
One of the lessons we learned from the 90s and the early part of the century was what a mistake it was when we established child support orders
Sure.
to try to get a big order, because that would be a great thing for families. Our experience has shown us that just didn't work out. That was not a good decision. It was not a good way to go.
Sure.
So,
So what was it, when you say big order, you're saying to get the biggest amount of child support check?
right.
So how, because of course, some may think, well, what's wrong? Did that not work?
Well, the reason it doesn't work is because if I tell Terry he needs to pay $50 a week in child support, and he can truly only afford to pay $25, at the end of the year he's $1,300 behind. So some
So
folks
puts
are
it
going
on
to
a
look at
rigor
Terry
on
and
that.
say, look, here's a guy who owes $1,300 in child support. What kind of guy is he?
Sure.
Okay.
When in fact he's done what he could do, what he was able to do.
Right.
So Indiana and other states began to develop child support guidelines.
Okay.
So there was an objective way to go about setting how much child support should be paid. A lot of folks have issues with how the guidelines work and what the numbers are, but the guidelines are intended to be a starting point.
Okay.
So if the guidelines say that negotiate, well,
Present as a statement, and then it happens.
the reality is in child support in Marion County and throughout the state of Indiana, most parents do not have counsel. A lot of child support gets established through the local 4D program,
Okay.
using those guidelines, and when parents don't have testimony, then come up with an amount.
Gotcha.
Each case is unique.
Absolutely,
It's
that's
all that is there a percentage that is fixed that applies to everybody that comes in, or you just really have to sit down and see what
available to both parents, and then factored in are things like extraordinary medical care, daycare expenses for parents, and all those numbers get plugged into what's called a worksheet, and then they come up with income parents. It can be a whole lot more than that. That's the presumptive amount, and that's the starting low. Hopefully we can sit down and come together on a number that works for both of us.
that's what you would hope to do, but if you're just presented with what you have, then you have to go based on just what you have.
Right, then you go in front of the judge looks at the numbers, listens to what you have to say, and then comes up with a number, and then that's the number you're stuck with,
Right.
at least for another year, at which point you can...
A not be working or fall short of work. Is there a now? Can you put this on pause for a second? How does that work? How does one, if they're falling on bad times or they don't have a job or
Because it
something
does
happen?
happen.
Yeah. How do they escape having this arrearage?
Well, the only way to escape from accumulating arrearage is go back to the court and get a modification.
Okay.
Yeah.
The rules for modification basically say there has to be a change in circumstances so substantial and continuous conditions,
Sure.
long proactive, unless it's the date of filing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wait a year, there are ways for folks who, there's a helpful website at the website of the Indiana Supreme Court. The Marion County Civil Courts also have some forms and information on how folks can file themselves without an attorney.
Let's see. And then I know you gentlemen wanted to discuss execution system. Let's see. That Prosecutor Curry but we can definitely answer this general. Can you?
I've
Okay.
been there. In Indiana, courts order payments to be made either to the clerk's office
Mhm.
or to what's called the.
Okay.
So they actually put onto an EBT card.
Mhm.
So I'm a.
Her son's father was paying a system.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he was
Overpayment is in the system.
I
yes.
can't tell you the system is knowledge because I won't get into because I'll be reliable and not a bad system.
Sure.
That's kind of where the every single process of the child support.
The payments are done entirely in the case. We don't have anything to do with how the money gets there, what's happening.
And I've been a testament to this again, of being transparent. For every kid that's on child support, there's it comes, and usually
Yeah, I think currently it's $55. Is that to help carry the cost of the in-SKU payments go to the clerk? So that fee has been adjusted so it.
Would probably if you guys. I mean, I was admit that I was kind of prosecutor knows what's going on with the checks, and he knows the system and the banking. He knows all that stuff. Now I'm understanding and to do everything in compliance with the statutes and the law. From there, it's out of your hands.
Good.
Well, think of it this way: the federal
Maybe
government.
at the outset, and then where it goes from there.
Okay, well, typical case: a dad comes in, we fill out the paperwork, we file it with the clerk, we find the other parent. We actually will put that order into the statewide system, which will then generate an income withholding order. And if everything goes well, the payments will come in. The payments.
Explain what an income withholding order is.
An income withholding order.
You didn't know you were going to be back at work today, did you? After work.
Actually, I love being at work. So
awesome. That's good to know.
That's a good thing, right?
An income withholding order is the agency which tells an employer, you have this employee who has a child support obligation. The Indiana State Central Collections Unit, INSCU, and where it goes, and distribute it out to the custodial parent's EBT card or send a check.
And the employer cannot deny or ignore that order because it's
Being held in contempt
when
and
they're
paying a fine.
self-employed and they are the employer.
That's more difficult, but and we've had to say, okay, well, we'll just bring you back to court and explain the circumstances to the court. And then the court can take care about what they do. They care about their families,
Right.
Very much so.
and they make sure that the child support comes out first.
Yeah, I was going to add that as well. Is that custodial parents and meeting obligation, sure.
Awesome.
And we have 52,000 open files, child support files, and
Wow.
so sure that most people are participating in the lives of their child and paying the child support that's been ordered by the court.
Don't pay their child support. A large portion of those folks are folks that can't pay. No longer. Those are not folks who are thumbing their noses at
That because it's easy to say, people that get caught up in that, or the courts to say, hey, you get lost in the sauce, and you can't take off for work, or you'll get fired. That the website is to initiate this process, or is there a way online to do that?
To start a case, you still have project going on right now is how do we start a case with somebody who can't come to the office?
Right.
Have it now. So if you want to open a case, start this 30 days. We're have a center.
Office are staffed obviously by us because then we do want to make it.
Saturday morning appointments are September the 15th. So if you Monday before the 15th, which is I don't know, the 10th maybe.
I was trying to get it in.
Hello
Go
from
ahead,
Colorado.
Pat.
Yeah.
Man, and thanks for passing it on because I haven't talked to him for too long.
Oh,
Yeah.
It sounded like,
it was just like,
that's
how does because you have some people that don't even want to go through this.
And a lot of folks do that. Very more power to them if they can. But unfortunately, what happens is when things blow up, is we're kind of like a neutral party. By whom,
invitation.
when
Right.
you have a serious disagreement about it, and you can't, times there will be mediation available, take quality time, or who's going to take them to sports this weekend, and that parents, I think, knowing regularity, and there's somebody for us to reach out to if for some reason.
Pay it through the court. I'm just going to pay some very, very successful attorneys who hadn't paid enough. As John said, there's no record whatsoever. A record there that met that obligation.
Could you touch on the system benefits the woman more so than them?
In many states have the same to a prosecutor's office that women custody about as the courts have given custody. There's actually a couple studies that show in contested custody cases when the prosecutor files a case and the sheriff comes to your, then you have to go to the courthouse and there's this whole system set up and it seems like wow, something's really the system is stacked decades ago. It's a fairer, simply is not. But we get the greatest value from the system when we all put our best effort. A lot of times we try to do what we think is in the best interest of the child. Recipe to invite. You don't always get your
So you go to court because usually the court
Your hands.
right,
Yeah.
right, it's out of your hands.
Well, yeah, when paternity has been mother and father, is it because they signed the paternal affidavit, and at that point,
when a child is born, and the mom and the dad, or the guy who thinks he's the dad, are there, they have the opportunity to complete what's called turn back. And once that time runs, a very famous case that came out in the 90s was called Farrow versus Farrow, and but basically, for the sole purpose.
wow.
There are a lot of Indiana appellate cases that say exactly that.
Not
Yes,
even with an
we
attorney.
see that the genetic test says you have a child who's known nobody else but this person as the
Okay.
father.
Yep.
Okay.
The family's made investments based upon the relationship between the father and the child, and from the dad.
And that came from
Wow.
that actually happened.
Yes,
And so there.
sport industry, but don't sign a paternity affidavit without. And you might want to double today. Thanks. We have a very limited time, a very short time.
A guy who's raising the kid for the child support court, and that would be with someone who isn't.
Matters whether or not the person is. You are the de facto if you wait to contest.
Okay.
Right.
And it's been a lie on that. It becomes more that
Right.
because it looks at it not from the standpoint of the
Right. Person separated.
just go genetic testing. Then there's not a
Certain
absolutely
things like that, and that may
Absolutely.
be what in some courts that.
We had a couple of more questions. Some of the
What we discussed comes from county taxes and
the same federal government said states you will have child support programs, you will have a plan cost. So I'm going for the because it makes the math easy, and I'm not good at math. I'm going to say our annual county things the federal government will give us $4 million. A little bit before about the incentive pool. The federal government puts this huge amount of money in a pool, and then the states in those dollar budget is actually more like $300 low cost to county taxpayers. So that's a great.
I have a question, and this is funny to whomever listens. I'm just the messenger. So, and he had at the time 10 kids.
Oh yeah,
He had
exactly.
to pay as much child support.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
His they won't get much, so they'll just take me out. True, he was definitely trying. I don't even. He may have 4 or 5 more now, which is sad. But
Is he living out of his car at this point?
no.
She should.
And when tax time comes around, it's payola, but since you know what I'm putting out. So, and he didn't work very much. He worked, but not who has this many kids, and their whole objective is to try and get out of child support.
Well, I'm not sure that I know how to income for all of us.
Right.
Right.
And there's a maximum amount. Some paying child support is to get a whole lot of child support. That's the courts use the guidelines and what's called impute income a week as a auto mechanic because you did that and you were really good at it. So we're $500 a week and due to me,
Right.
and the analysis is going to be different because these are choices that he made.
Right.
Have more kids. So
When you started the question, I actually thought you were talking about former pacer. But
Crazy that is having a lot of arrearage.
absolutely, and cases which are originally paying on arrears.
Some of the things that happens when you owe this.
Well, it makes much difference, but it will impact your many apartment complexes.
Or you tell them their house, and you look at it, child support.
Sure, so.
You're going to be certified if you claim a state tax refund.
Sure.
That could go if you claim a federal tax refund. If you're an avid hunter or fisher.
That's
You
right.
can drop my credit score, but don't take my fish.
That deep sea diving.
Because there's now a child support lien on your vehicle.
Ooh, girl, Pat.
Nah, listen. Fortunately, I don't have to deal with that stuff. I'm good. But okay, now you guys can take the license, right?
right.
So some fathers would say, man, you know,
Talked about at the outset, and I don't know if it came through. And the
Communicating.
static is will reinstate your license. And what'd you tell me? Your guy came in and paid $5 or
$5.
something? $5.
$5. We don't want to suspend license, but if you won't cooperate with it, put that suspension out of way.
Absolutely.
Just as soon as we can.
I
do
mean,
that.
if you got a $10,000 arrearage, you don't have to come in and pay $10,000 to get your license back. Just come talk to us.
We'll ask you to pay something based on your ability.
Quite
sorry,
some
Mia,
time
Mia, listen, Mia, sorry, hey, she's pissed right now. Like, listen, I posted this question 4 or 5 times, and no one's even asked me.
I can't find the attorney was handling at the time, and I guess she wants. It's an old case, but she's still 11 years old. I guess it's just an old case, but the attorney won't release the case for her to have someone else handle it. And she's trying to get some old child support money that is due to her. She's trying to get that. That's, I guess, maybe somewhere stuck in the system because have power to hold a case. But she's saying also when she calls the 1-800 line, they don't even have her information anymore because the child support.
Well, the statute of limitations in Indiana basically says that when the child turns 28, it's time barred.
What?
28.
Man,
yes.
my dad got off.
My dad off the hook too.
My dad got off about 8 or 9 kids. He paid nothing. Nothing.
Everybody too old now.
At 317-327-1800 and get some information. And you can even schedule an appointment when you call us. And I don't know whether anything can be done to help you or not.
Sorry,
That's
really
okay.
quick. Okay. I have an uncle, right? I mean, his daughter's mother. And he got out and he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to sign over my rights. Like his, because I looked at him like
She signed that
he
birth
lost his
certificate,
mind.
that affidavit.
A parent cannot say,
It's crazy.
That's good.
yeah.
you can't tap out.
Yeah.
Right.
You're in there.
Yeah.
Y'all would probably have a long line down there of parents trying to sign up for the rights.
Mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
Take
Which
them.
is sad when you think about
It
it.
is sad.
They're basically saying they don't want to be involved in the kid's life, right? So,
Yeah.
and I have another question. This is sort of what do you call it? I'm just trying to take stories and opinions of people that I've talked to and put it all together. Say a person was placed on child support. Say he had a daughter, and say that his daughter, he was paying child support 5 or 8 years. He's been paying child support while she's been living with him. What can he do? You know,
for him. But I'm going to emphasize again, when you have that kind of change in that,
right?
but Indiana law will recognize when a parent has taken custody for a period of time and cared for the child. So he may have overpaid if he was in his custody and he was caring for the child. So there is some relief there.
Okay.
Was the mother giving him the money back?
I don't know. I was just
I
kind
hope
of putting
so.
it together because
I'm
I've
thinking
talked
this
to a
is
few
like
people
one of those. I have an anonymous.
as the custodial.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think the fear there is you know,
Get an attorney.
If that's the fear, get an attorney. There are a lot of great family law attorney agencies that provide great work. The Indianapolis Christian Neighborhood Legal Clinic, for example, we have an ongoing relationship with them with their reentry project. But there are lawyers who will help courts, and hopefully you can get the forms together and get them filed. The clerk does a great job. They've undergone this change, but they haven't forgotten there's people who need their help.
I know y'all just tuning in.
Turning 21. I can't remember because my memory is just that bad. If we talked about this on air or off air, I'm pretty sure we talked about it off air. Okay, good. Okay.
Age of emancipation.
Yes.
Any further child support. So John, you can.
So.
Well, it's now 19.
So Erica's now
entitled to child support.
How long does that last?
Forever.
Forever?
Yeah.
Full child? Like, why would you? I see. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, when the child turns 19.
If it's a Title 4D case, what in this Marion County we're charging because the child is 19 and the system isn't perfect. Maybe we didn't stop charging, and then there are a lot of cases. Believe it or not, we get a refund sent to them.
Wow.
So call us.
I wonder if that refund is about as fast as I
For 3 years.
That's not
okay. I don't know too many black men that want.
Maybe the biggest issue is just not coming and
Come on now.
following the documentation.
I think that's what it is.
I know there's
It's
a
3 things that we don't like doing. I'm sorry.
So you forgot one in the hospital.
there's a fear.
Yeah,
but it sounds
but,
like
you know,
that's a
that's-
part of the issue is that we're not
Here we
20
go.
some pages. I mean, the eyes of a woman doing things almost sounds like they don't feel like they can advocate for themselves because like
Where you never think that it's going to happen, but when it does, that's when you get educated.
right.
And you know, that's if it gets to her or anyone else,
Right.
to overcome that apprehension, you know,
Right.
to come work with us, and you're going to avoid a lot of just participating in the.
I think
In
it's
the process.
awesome that your office is welcome. Let them know to get you going, and so that you can continue on with your life instead of hiding and running and not saying anything, which makes things.
And I don't. And you know, to sit in on their case, I'm like, man. And a couple of them, man, they got handcuffed
Wow.
and take out.
Some people know, so that's just something that they just not have. And this is an extension of the question of when the guideline that says you have to continue.
So the court has of college education for 4 years. We should at a state college, i.e. Purdue.
Sure.
Some portion to be paid by the student. So
Right.
So
Agreement.
right. So
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's a very good point.
Can you say that on the mic?
I'm sorry. I was reading it, trying to see if it was something. At what point do they put delinquent parents in jail?
behind many child support enforcement systems is the to do. In Indiana, in order for a court to say somebody's going to be sent to jail, full choice not to make the payment. So, or there is some other circumstance. In Marion County, it is unusual for somebody to be put into jail. So the court has to say, I think you can pay $500, and when you pay $500, you get out. The court can't say.
Like, it's a thing where if you're... I had a really good question. It just completely...
That's all
I
right.
told you. Remember?
There's 2 more, though.
Okay. So if you know you're going to go to a new job, and you just, worry about paying child support, and people do that, So if you get a new job or something, or you lose your job like we talked about earlier, say something, you know, because if you are purposely not paying child support, you go to jail. And I've heard people going to jail on accident.
So let's say that someone is working, and I'm under the impression, by experience, if you file a W-2 with a company, then you could be or get a 1099. It's different.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the difference on how? Because some people can't be tracked because they work certain types of jobs.
Reporting registry, which means that most employers, within 30 days of somebody starting, is going to send that information to an equivalent of the state employment agency. So the child support computer system interfaces with all these different databases. So we're going to find out.
Okay.
A 1099 is different only in how.
Yeah.
Probably quarterly.
And then we.
Okay. Let's see. What's the odds? The dad had the kid, paid the mom child support for years. Dad wanted to stop it. Then mom wants the kids back and try to raise the support. Would the judge grant any? Oh, this is from.
They answered.
They answered that already.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said you have to go down there and let someone know because it won't be tracked if you decide to do it later.
Okay. Jessica Pace said, what's the best way to keep up with the delinquent parent who changes job?
Boy, that's a great
That's
question.
a good question.
That is a great question, because one thing it does point out is, you know, obviously we don't have, you know, 50 investigators
right.
that go out into the city and check with employers who started this week. So we have a number of databases that I'm not telling any secrets here. But if somebody really wants to go underground to avoid paying child support, they can do that. Wow. But it means, you know, you can't work around.
What about entrepreneurs? What if somebody's an entrepreneur and they have a tax side? Oh, yeah, you tax
license or professional license. So when they get notice that professional license is at risk, most of them become cooperative very quickly.
There you go.
Does that work in civil cases as well? I kind of slid that in earlier, but I'm just curious.
It works.
As far as the tracking down?
Well, except the civil attorney wouldn't have access to all the databases that we would.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. They're going to catch you. These two are going to catch you.
If I had these attorneys, they would catch. But
yeah, they're going to catch you.
I'm not talking about child support. It's a civil case.
Tax refunds haven't come up either, John.
Oh. Tax refunds.
Yes. Great question.
Oh my God, that's
great question.
Do you have to be in arrears?
And married couples that get hit with that tax return. Oh my goodness, the wife.
Oh,
the whole Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown type of situation.
We're getting this together.
You have to be delinquent according to the child support system to get your tax refund.
Fly by day, fly by night.
Wow.
Yes.
So to tap on what Ebony said, was both of those people held accountable for as a couple?
What happens, John?
There you go. The IRS will actually give you a small window of time to file separately.
And that's beyond worse. That ain't worse, that's beyond worse. Okay?
Right.
Divorce.
So you just not even
$50,000. What?
You would never get.
You probably tell me $3,000. Nah. Hey.
You would never see that tax. Married couples, if your spouse owes in child support, if you don't want your refund taken, you file separately, but you don't get that earned income credit. So you don't get the earned income credit.
I see why people
You should. Ladies, put that on the questionnaire. How much do you owe in back child support?
Or what is your credit score?
There you
matter if
scores matter.
If the custodian, how does that? Is there a percentage break or something?
Yeah, that's part of the child support guidelines calculation. It's based upon the percentage of the total income.
Okay.
So if the mom makes twice as much as the dad, then that's accounted for in that calculation.
Okay, so she might receive less because she makes a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Good. That was a question that some people had.
One of our viewers said this is the best birth control ever.
She's hilarious.
That's sad.
It is
really sad.
I'm not sure how we work that into our materials.
I don't know if I want.
Ethan said, "My dad is to child support as Tony Stark is to inventing stuff."
Iron Man.
Not at all.
That's your new name, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man of the Child Support Division.
Well, did you gentlemen want to share anything else?
Yes, yes.
Any more updates? Any changes that you foresee? Anything projects that you're working on as far as improvements?
Running for governor. You got my vote.
Yeah.
I guess my final comment would, don't get John started on ISETs.
Yes. ISETs.
ISETs. It's a statewide computer system.
Oh, yes.
And
gotcha.
you know, it's.
I thought you said I-step at first. I'm like, man.
No.
Yeah, don't get us started on ISET,
No.
please.
I get
No.
I-step test too down there.
No, like like every area of the office, we can always do better. We're always
Sure.
always trying to. A lot of the conversation here tonight even reinforces to me
Sure.
that even though we feel we're going down the right path, we're doing things the right way, then maybe that message still doesn't get out very well. You know,
Sure.
that people are still intimidated, and so we constantly working on the message that just work with us, and we'll work with you.
Well, anytime you guys want to come here to help get that message out, we're
Yes,
willing to do
please.
that and open to doing that, because I think it is important that we communicate with things like these. Things are life changers.
Yeah.
You know, a lot
Very
of
much
people
so.
are
Absolutely.
introduced to this system for the first time, and they may have had a great life, but you know, this may help them, you know, figure out how to get, you know, how to deal with 20 years old. I probably could have done a whole lot of different things different. You know, knowledge is power, so we have to try and figure out how to educate ourselves on these subjects so that we can make better decisions.
Well, and you
decisions and not go DC diving, but I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No, I mean, you just think about the numbers. You know, I said
Right.
52,000 open files, so you got 104,000 parents there, and then you count the children. I mean, what
That's a lot
John's
of
doing
families affected.
is affecting hundreds of thousands of people in
Absolutely.
central Indiana.
Yeah.
That's-
Wow.
Man, well, we appreciate you both for
absolutely.
you know, being advocates, especially for change. Hoping that
That gets improved.
if that's a problem for you, that just tells us as the viewers, like, hey, you know, he's working as best he can, but there can always be room for more improvement. So
Absolutely.
if there's anything we can do to help support that move, let us know, because I definitely, you know, from my own past experiences, know that you know, that was a big deal. Other people out there that are challenged with that every day. So thank you.
Sure. As usual, thank you, viewers. We had some really, really great questions. I'm hoping that, you know, our viewers walk away, and we also had a viewer, and I'm hoping I'm not saying, brought up an interesting point in regards to the information that we kind of deem as important for viewing, like fight videos, all those types of things, things that are negative, you know. We try to, on this show, provide information to the community, try to provide substance, you know. So I appreciate that feedback, Monet, because that is one of the things that we strive to do, you know. We felt like, and thanks to Peg, shout out to Peg. Peg works for the prosecutor's office. She is Prosecutor Curry's right-hand sister.
Making things happen.
So,
Communications
Shout out to
director.
Peg.
She is our
Communications instructor?
director.
Yes. So, you know, I appreciate her for actually even offering that opportunity. Prosecutor Curry, how many legs have in the state or in the county, and how you deal with how much are mingled together.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I'm just thankful that you guys came on and that you helped us to provide that information, because, like I said, everything's intermingled. Everything has to do with everything when it comes to statistics and data, and solving a lot of our problems here in the county and in the state.
Absolutely.
So we're going to continue to push the narrative and the agenda through the gray area media that educates the community, that informs the community. And we appreciate people like you guys who are tuning in, and, you know, Monet, for your statement. So everybody continue to share this information. Like you know, continue to share and be the opposite of the narrative of sharing in this social media world.
Right.
You know, share the positivity, share things that's actually going to
We have
help.
to have substance always.
Yes, that's going to help our community and help build our community, you know, in Indianapolis. So,
Absolutely.
again, thank you guys. Thank you.
And one thing I
yes,
just want to tell people, stop being afraid to go downtown and have a discussion with these gentlemen and in their offices about child support. Child support to me, and honestly, and I've been through the worst with it, you know, years back. But I will say this: as I believe in the child support system, I think that it does a great deal of service to people out there, and it could be something that could help people.
Yeah.
You know, but where you need to go, especially in Indiana, the child support office can be reached at 317-327-1800. 1-800-840-8757. Customer service hours are Monday through Friday, 7 to 6 p.m. So reach out. I mean, there's tons of ways to just go down to the office. You know, go have a conversation. Ask for John Owens. Terry is probably involved in all kinds of stuff down there. So
Yeah, I'm easy to find.
there you go. There you go. But ask for John Owens. John Owens is the supervisor for the child support division downtown, and he can supply you with any answers you need in regards to child support. So thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, happy
To the viewers for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace out.
Alrighty. Thank you, John.
They ask and explain.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
What you doing?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we're gonna, the reason that we even did this is because you turn on the news, man, you would just think that the world is evil and stuff. So we just wanted to be a service that out of all this other stuff.
It's a re-entry